It's a good day, Titans fans. The Titans officially have their next head coach, and if you missed it last night, we made a video for you late, 11 p.m. Central Time, and they are hiring defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as the new head coach. This comes from Rap Sheet. Saleh impressed during the interview process, making him the person to lead this young team. The ex-Jets head coach spent today in Nashville interviewing for a second time. He impressed Mike Borgonzi, and they made him sign the pen to paper before he could go to the Cardinals. Now, I made an at-home video yesterday, but couldn't give you some graphics and just kind of talk about the full-on details with Saleh. And you see right there, like, he was a part of the 49ers. Their defense was serviceable and very good despite all of the key injuries that happened. We talked about how Fred Warner got hurt. We talked about how Nick Bosa got hurt. Yeah, he's also been a part of multiple champions. You see Super Bowl 43 champs. Now, the question is, well, he was a part of the Jets head coach, the 20-36 head coaching record. But if we all remember, the offense of that team was terrible, and the defense of that team was very good. The official word came from Jordan Schultz early this morning, and Saleh agreed on a 5-year contract to make him the head coach of the Titans. So he will be here the next 5 years, and hopefully for the future. And it's very, very exciting because every single Titans fan thought it was going to be Matt Nagy, and it was going to be a huge mistake by this organization. But you got a leader of men, a guy that can change the culture, and someone who Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons 100% believes in. So before we talk about what we're going to talk about on today's video, how excited are you for Robert Saleh? Go down in the comments section. Scale it 1 to 10 for me. 1, you don't care at all. 10, you are ecstatic that they got a new head coach. Now, with the new head coach, he brings in his entire new staff. And right now, the Titans, well, he's a defensive coach, so he's going to have a guy that runs his offense. Question is, who will be his offensive coordinator? That is the biggest question that we have so far. And there are many kind of candidates. And Dianna Russini, she took to Twitter this morning, and she tweeted this out. As Robert Saleh works through his offensive coordinator search, this may not be an easy hire. Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll, and Arthur Smith are all expected to have multiple opportunities this cycle, potentially shrinking the pool early. So we're going to talk about those 3 guys, McDaniel, Daboll, and Arthur Smith. And as you can tell, Arthur Smith is not one guy on my list that I'm like, ugh, because he was also a candidate to be the head coach of the Titans being here before. Let's start off with the former head coach of the New York Giants, and that is Brian Daboll. And Jonathan Jones, one of the NFL reporters, he said this. One name that has come up in Tennessee as Robert Saleh's offensive coordinator is Brian Daboll. He'll presumably be a head coaching candidate in Buffalo, and we're likely to wait to see there, but he's also taking OC interviews as he took the OC interview for, I think it was the Philadelphia Eagles. And the question was, could the former New York Giants head coach unite in Nashville? Now, let's talk about Brian Daboll. He was the head coach of the Giants from 2022 to 2025, and he has been a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He was with head coach Bill Belichick when they won those Super Bowls out in New England. He was also with the Alabama Crimson Tide when Nick Saban was there, when Jalen Hurts was there back in 2017. He's an experienced play caller. He was also the Buffalo Bills OC when he developed Josh Allen, and Josh Allen took that next step and became the quarterback that he is today. So if you bring over Brian Daboll, you get him paired with Cam Ward. And like I just said, we saw what he did with Josh Allen. Josh Allen was a turnover-prone monster. He came over, and Josh Allen became who he is today. Now, I want to talk about the quarterback that he had before he was fired, and that was Jackson Dart. And if you see the stats here, this was Jackson Dart with Brian Daboll. His completion percentage was decent, 62.7. The yards per game, 200. Touchdowns per game was 1.4. QB rating was 95 almost. But then he gets fired. And look at Jackson Dart after that. Yeah, the completion percentage was still up, but that's because he wasn't throwing as far down the field. His yards went down 30. Then his touchdowns also went down. And his QB rating went down almost 12 points. I think that had a big reason because of Daboll. So you saw the effect of him leaving, what it did to Jackson Dart. I think he would be a perfect fit for Cam Ward and possibly the rest of this offense. He's number 2 on my list. I wouldn't go out and say he's the number 1 guy that I would be looking forward to hiring, but if you get him, I am not going to complain whatsoever. So the second guy on my list is someone that I really am not going to look forward to kind of hiring because he was also a candidate to be a head coach, but he also has ties with the Titans organization, and that is Arthur Smith. He's currently the Steelers' OC. He's been there for the last 2 seasons, and if we look at the Steelers' offense, well, it's not really great. The Atlanta Falcons head coach, he was there for 3 seasons, and he wasn't great either, but the one thing is that he has been in this organization for 9 years. He has ties with the front office. But I will say, we saw Matt Nagy had a whole bunch of connections with Mike Borgonzi, and that didn't happen. So I think that they're going in another direction rather than bringing back old friends. And talking about Arthur Smith's offenses, well, they've been pretty mid. They've been pretty mediocre. You can see right here, this is the team ranks. This comes from Pro Football Reference. And none of them are really top 10 other than 2020, like yards, 12th, points, 10th. And then his time in Atlanta, they were awful. But you look at Pittsburgh, the yards has been 25th. You have Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, by the way, who is 40 years old. And 23, 16, they've all been mediocre. It's nothing really that I'm looking at like, oh, this is going to be a great hire. No, I think this would just be kind of, you need an OC, your last second resort. That's about it. But when the Titans do finally have their offensive coordinator, just like what I said when the Titans make their head coaching hire, which they did last night, I didn't care what time it was. We had a video for you. So when the Titans find their offensive coordinator, we make a video, and that's why you subscribe to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, because we keep you up to date on these Titans news and rumors. Before we get into the last candidate, which, of course, you guys know it's Mike McDaniel, let me tell you guys about our sponsor of today's show, and that is PrizePicks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you could cash in. There's a new feature on PrizePicks, and that is early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Prime your community on PrizePicks with the new social feeds feature. You could share PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You got to make a lineup. You can do football, basketball. Baseball season's going to come up quick on you guys. We're just about 2 months away. And also, you know I love motorsports, but you got to download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Let's talk about the last candidate on this list, and that is Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel, who I would absolutely love him to be the head coach. I actually made a video on the channel just a couple weeks ago saying how much I would love the pairing of Robert Saleh and also Mike McDaniel for this offense. And guess what? It could become a reality. This should be your top prospect. He was an amazing head coach for the Dolphins until Tua forgot how to play football. They were one of the #1 teams in offense. And you could see his resume because if he was an offensive coordinator, I think he would unlock Cam Ward. Back in 2023, Dolphins were #2 in scoring, #1 in total offense. His offense is dynamic and has a good run game. We saw it with Achane. We've seen it. When Tua knows how to play quarterback, that's when the Dolphins are really, really good. And the best part, he has spent time with Saleh. Back in his time, 06 and 08, they were both with Houston organization. And 17 through 20, Mike McDaniel was with that San Francisco 49ers staff. So you put them back together, I think they would have a good combination, and they already have chemistry. And here's what Titan Size had to say about Mike McDaniel on an article possibly having him as OC. McDaniel was dealt a tough hand in Miami with Tua being his franchise quarterback, but his offenses were incredibly difficult for defenses to grasp. His high usage of motion and misdirection gave his speedy skill position players tons of space in the open field to make guys miss. Plus, it was a relatively quarterback-friendly offense with quarterback-friendly reads and spacing. Ward is certainly incredible at making plays off script, but if the play can be made simpler and easier for him, then that superpower of his will be an even deadlier weapon. Like I said, it would unlock Cam Ward. And the Titans, they already had him in the building. They were looking at him as a potential head coaching candidate. But I want to kind of think. You bring him in for the head coach interview, I guarantee they said, look, if we don't go in your direction, I bet you that they said, we could possibly bring you back for an offensive coordinator. We really like your resume. We really like your skill set and your coaching scheme. I think you'd be perfect for our offense. So now that you have your head coach, Robert Saleh, and the relationship that Saleh and McDaniel have, it'd be the perfect time to bring him back for the OC job. I think it'd be a perfect time. And I think that he would want to be that. I think that he would want to be the offensive coordinator, be there for a year or two, and go out and be a head coach again. Rebuild your resume. Rebuild your credibility. It's simple as that. But you got to hire a good OC because the future, once you got your head coach, now it's bright. You got to fully embrace the rebuild. You need an OC. You can't just hire some guy like a Nagy or an Arthur Smith and expect to be successful. Just because Saleh is your leader of men and he's going to change the culture out in Tennessee, he's a defensive guy and you need somebody to develop Cam Ward. You are going to have to find the perfect offensive coordinator, whether that be Brian Daboll, whether that be Mike McDaniel. I mentioned it on the video yesterday. Maybe you could get a guy that's a passing game coordinator like out in New England with Thomas Brown. Anything is possible, but you have to get a good OC. And I think that perfect OC is Mike McDaniel paired up with Robert Saleh. Would you hire Mike McDaniel as your OC? Let me know down in the comments section because I am typing my H 110%. You go down in the comments section, let me know. And while you're also down there, hit that sub button. You made it to the end of the video. Got to be interested in something. We got you covered with all your Titans news and rumors, and especially when they hire an offensive coordinator. So hit that sub button right now. And as always, tighten up.